to half of runners preparing for a marathon pick up an injury before race day. And most of those injuries aren't random. They're predictable and preventable. I'm Edward, sports scientist and ex-soccer player turned marathon runner. And today, I'll show you why many runners get injured during marathon training and what you can do to avoid it using a sports science approach that you can apply in your own training. Whether you're training for your first marathon or chasing a personal best, this will help you stay healthy, train consistently, and arrive at the start line ready to go. Before we dive into the what injuries occur and why, let's first have a more detailed look at how common marathon training injuries actually are. Many studies show that roughly 30 to 50% of recreational marathoners get injured during training. In the 2024 New York Marathon, researchers tracked over 1,000 runners and found that 38% got injured during their 16-week buildup. And if you include race day itself, that number was over 40%. And this isn't just bad luck. A 2022 study of more than 700 first-time marathoners reported that 59% had some form of injury. Almost half were minor injuries that disrupted training, and nearly 10% were major injuries that stopped runners from starting the race, never mind finishing it. The vast majority of these, about 80%, are overuse injuries. That means they're not freak accidents, but the results of accumulated stress over weeks of training. Mostly affected are, less surprisingly, the knees, shins, ankles, and feet. Think runner's knee, shin splints, Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, the usual suspects. So the question isn't if runners get injured, it's why so many do, and more importantly, what you can do differently to avoid being one of them. One of the biggest mistakes runners make in marathon training is sudden jumps in mileage and long-run distance. It's the classic too much too soon problem. In a study of more than 5,000 runners, researchers found that a 10 to 30% weekly increase in longest run distance increased risk of injury by about 64%. And if you doubled your longest run from the past month, your injury risk more than doubled. Less experienced runners are especially vulnerable here. A study following new marathon trainees showed that when they increased their weekly mileage by more than 30% in just a couple of weeks, their injury risk significantly increased, most often with knee problems and shin splints. This is why injuries often show up in weeks 6 to 10 of a training block, right when training volume and intensity are climbing fast. Your cardiovascular fitness improves quicker than your bones and tendons, so it may feel like you can handle more, but your tendons aren't ready to handle the mechanical load yet. So what's the fix? Firstly, don't increase your weekly mileage by more than 5 to 10%. Second, when you add distance to your long runs, add 1 to 3 kilometers at a time, not 8 or 10, no matter how tempted or motivated you are. Thirdly, take a deload week every 3 or 4 weeks and reduce your mileage a bit to let your body absorb the training before you start building again. Patience is a key ingredient in marathon training, and the fastest way to the starting line healthy is to build gradually. The second big reason runners get injured before race day is not allowing enough recovery. Marathon training is stressful for the body, and if you don't give it enough time to recover, you're setting yourself up for injury. Research shows that about 80% of running injuries are overuse injuries, which are caused by accumulated stress, not one-off accidents. Typically, these injuries are caused by running every day, stacking hard workouts back to back, and cutting sleep short. All of this means your muscles, bones, and tendons never get a chance to catch up. The thing is, fitness gains actually happen between workouts, during recovery, and especially when you sleep. If you keep training through fatigue, thinking more is better, you slowly build up micro damage in your tissues, and eventually something breaks down. That's when you see stress fractures, Achilles tendonitis, or IT band syndrome appear late in a training block. To avoid overtraining, plan at least 1 to 2 rest days every week and stick to them because they're part of your training plan. Alternate hard and easy days so you're not stacking too much stress. And prioritize sleep, nutrition, and hydration, which are just as important as the miles you run. I know from my own training in my youth, when I always pushed hard, ignored recovery and the signals my body was sending, little niggles showed up, which turned into Achilles tendonitis, and I had to sit out for a long time. After studying sports science, starting to apply polarized training, and taking time to recover, I remain healthy throughout the training block and feel strong on race day. The third major risk factor for marathon training injuries is simple, and that's your past injuries. Sports medicine research consistently shows that the single strongest predictor of a new running injury is a previous one. Why? Because old injuries often leave behind weaknesses or compensations. Maybe your hips, knees, or ankles never fully regained strength or full range of motion, or your stride subtly changed without you noticing. Those little imbalances add up over hundreds of training miles. So the message is clear. Take time to rehab properly, strengthen weak links, and address the root cause before building up training volume again. The fourth big reason runners get injured before a race is simply a lack of experience. The research shows that new marathoners are almost twice as likely to get injured as seasoned runners. One big study found that beginners reported about 8.8 injuries per 1,000 hours of running, compared to 4.2 injuries per 1,000 hours in experienced runners. That means if you're relatively new to running, but you're logging the same number of hours as a veteran runner, you're nearly twice as likely to end up injured. Why is that? Because your body hasn't yet adapted to the repetitive stress of marathon training. Your cardiovascular fitness might improve quickly, but your bones, tendons, and muscles need more time to adjust. And here's an important point. New marathoners who had already run a half marathon were less likely to get injured in their first marathon training block than those who hadn't. It's proof that experience, even in shorter distances, matters. So if you're new to marathons, build gradually. Run shorter races like 10Ks and half marathons first. Build a solid base of easy mileage before starting a marathon plan, and don't copy a veteran's training just because it looks impressive, because your body isn't there yet. The fifth big reason runners get injured is biomechanics and strength deficits. In simple terms, it means how your body moves and whether the right muscles are strong enough to support you. For example, weak quads could cause your knees to collapse inward with each stride. Over thousands of steps, that can add more stress to your joints than your body can handle if you haven't built up strong muscles that support your training. This is why so many runners deal with knee pain, shin splints, sore Achilles tendons, and other niggles. It's not always just about the mileage, but the mileage on top of weak foundations in this case. The good news are that we know strength training works. A 2024 study found that runners who added simple lower body and core strength work in their training had about 39% less overuse injuries than those who didn't. So the fix is very simple. Even just one strength training session a week can do a big difference. Focus on exercises like squats, lunges, glute bridges, hip adductions and abductions for your legs, and exercises like planks, dead bugs, and leg raises for your core. If you build strength in the right areas, every step becomes more stable, more efficient, and you become way less prone to injuries. Alright, let's pull it all together. Most running injuries aren't bad luck, but they come from a handful of predictable and preventable mistakes. Here's how to avoid them. First, progress gradually. Don't ramp up your mileage or long runs by more than about 5 to 10% per week. Second, prioritize recovery. 1 to 2 rest days per week, alternate between easy and hard days, and never underestimate sleep and fueling. Third, respect your injury history. If you've had a past issue, rehab it properly before starting a new training block. Fourth, build experience. If you're new, start with 10Ks and half marathons before jumping into the full marathon. And last but not least, strengthen your weak links. Even just one strength training session a week can cut your injury risk by nearly 40%. Get these right and you'll stack week after week of training without breakdowns, which is the real secret behind marathon success. Remember that consistent, progressive training is what gets you to the start line healthy and ready to go. So that's how most marathon training injuries happen, and more importantly, how you can avoid them. When you do these right, you'll make it to the start line feeling strong and be able to enjoy the training journey along the way. If you want help putting this into practice, join Elaborate Runners on School. It's full of people training for their first or fastest race, sharing tips, challenges, and supporting each other through all the ups and downs of training. It's free to join. The link is in the description. Thank you for watching.